So you might hear kids today because I am a homeschooling mom, which means my kids are here all day long. Hi there and welcome. I'm Jennifer and this is A Country Life. I already have kids peeking their heads in. And so we got a ton of snow yesterday, a ton. I don't know, probably somewhere between 10 and maybe 12 inches. And so Warren, my husband, just pushed up a great big pile of snow. So they are actually heading out to go and do some sledding. Okay, so today's video is going to be 5 of the top questions that are wondered about when somebody starts to homeschool. And this is a collaboration with Lisa from Catholic Marathon Mom. Definitely go check out her channel. She is just such a sweet lady and she has such a gentle voice. I love watching and just listening to her videos. Anyway, she has lots of Catholic content and lots of homeschool content. And so, like I said, this is a collaboration, so there will be a playlist in the description box below, and there's going to be a whole list of other moms, I would assume probably all moms here, giving their and answering these 5 questions. So let's go. I have them, I printed them out, so I have them handy here. So question number 1, how many kids are you homeschooling and how long have you homeschooled? So like I said, I'm Jennifer, my husband is Warren, and we have 7 kids. They range in age from 22 on the oldest end down to 6. And so that means that we've been homeschooling for a lot of years, since the very, very beginning. Nobody started kindergarten or anything like that. We just started homeschooling right from the beginning. So our oldest is 22. She is married and obviously out of the house. Then we have a son who is 21, and he also is already graduated from college and has moved on into his full-time career. And then we have an 18-year-old. She is at home. She is actually in her first semester of college right now, although we are counting her English composition course also as a high school credit, because she does need, I say need, one more half of a credit of high school English in order to graduate according to the state of Wisconsin. And our goal is to always make sure that they have all of the graduation requirements that our state requires, so that college entrance and all that just goes as seamlessly and smoothly as possible. Then we have a 15-year-old, and he just got his temps. And so that is big on his mind, I think, right now. And we have an 11-year-old, Joseph. Joseph has Down syndrome. He is definitely throwing a great big curveball into homeschooling for me, and that has definitely been a challenge for me. And we then have an 8-year-old, Peter, and Maria is 6. So those are the ages of all the kids. Okay, number 2, what was the defining moment when you knew you were going to homeschool? Well, let me just give you a little bit of my background, although I don't think that this really has anything to do with being able to homeschool or not. So before having kids, I was a science teacher. I taught 7th, 8th, and 9th grade science at a local public junior high. I absolutely love teaching, and I love being with the youth. The bureaucracy and lots of other things that go along with education and teaching, I didn't like so much. So I guess what really just kind of happened is that when Emily, our oldest, when she was probably around 3 or so, I had heard about a homeschool group that got together at one of the local libraries. And so I just kind of started checking that out every now and then. And it just seemed like something that sounded interesting. At the same time, I also had a good friend who's just a second. Excuse me. I also had a good friend whose sister homeschooled, and I had met their kids who were probably in late grade school or early junior high kind of age, and they were just pleasant kids. I really enjoyed how they had conversations with us as adults, even though they didn't know who we were at all, the first time that we met them, and I just liked their demeanor, I guess. Not that all homeschool kids have the same demeanor or have the same parents bringing them up, but anyway, that was just a moment when I thought, homeschooling could definitely be a thing. Now, so like I said, I have kids in the house, so Joseph right now is upset because someone won't let him into their bedroom. So I hope that that's not disrupting the video. So that was probably the defining moment when I really thought that something could be done. Then my normal thing to do is to just go and check out every single book from the library that I possibly could. This was before blogs and things like that. I think I got a few magazine. I actually got a magazine subscription to something called, I want to say maybe Practical Homeschooling or Home Education, maybe Home Education magazine, and I might have picked up Practical Homeschooling from the library. But anyways, I just kind of started reading through these books. Some I just kind of browsed through, and some I read cover to cover. I don't really remember the titles of all of the books, but I just thought I did get a variety. I remember reading one of, I think her name is something Clark, and I believe that was like a Catholic homeschooling book and looking at incorporating Catholicism into your homeschool. I also got a whole lot of other various Christians' viewpoints on homeschooling, and then I had a lot of secular books as well. So I just kind of read across the board and really informed myself on all the different styles of homeschooling and things like that. And that's really kind of when we knew. At that point, though, our thought was that we would just homeschool for 1 year, and then we would analyze it. I don't think analyze is quite the word. Then we would revisit the topic and see if that was something that we wanted to do again. And at the end of her kindergarten year, we said, yeah, let's go with it. So we moved her on into first grade. In those years, though, we did not really grade our children. We just homeschooled them. No one was really a grade. They just worked at whatever level was best for them. And then we started in with our son, and we just kind of kept doing that over those early years, kind of year by year by year. And then it just kind of got to be where we really didn't even revisit the issue all that often because it was just working fairly well. I mean, I always want to say that homeschooling is not perfect by any means. There's a lot of struggles that come with it, lots of time commitment issues and things like that, but it still was working well. Okay, number 3, do you create your own curriculum, use a faith-based curriculum, or a secular curriculum? And I am going to say yes to all of that. I absolutely love creating my own curriculum, and I did that a lot in the early years when I was homeschooling 2 children and then had 2 little ones that were just sort of coming along. I think I continued to kind of write my own curriculum, and especially when I say write my own curriculum, I mean designing unit plans, and that's really how we homeschooled. So we might, pick a topic, and then we would read about it, and we might do science projects about it, and we would incorporate it into, our math lessons, or we might, especially with like history and writing and cooking and all those things, they really go hand in hand. So I did do a lot of writing my own curriculum. I do still. Some phone is ringing, which is a little bit confusing to me right now. As far as faith-based curriculum, I've used a lot of different Catholic materials over the years. I used Catholic Heritage Curricula. Really, really enjoyed that. I still actually use a number of their things. I will put a link to their website down below. They have a lot of great readers and like early chapter books that I've really, really enjoyed, with a lot of free online study guides. And I use those a lot for especially our older 3 kids. And then I've also used lots of Seton materials over the years, lots of their history, still use some of their history today. There's a book out there, and it's called something like Planning Your Classical Curriculum for the Catholic High Schooler or something like that. I've used that as just kind of like a spine where I've taken things out of there. I've gotten lots of ideas from that. And now, I mean, my gosh, with blogs and things like that, you can just really type in whatever, whatever you're looking for, and you can just find so many options. Sometimes it's almost overwhelming. When we first started, there weren't quite the options that there are now. Okay, and secular as well. I also use secular curriculum. So it really just depends on each child, and it depends on what's working for us at that moment. Some curriculums require more parent hands-on and some are a little bit more parent hands-off. So depending on the time in our life, whether we have, you know, newborns or not, kind of depends on what we use. So we have not like used the same things every single year. I'm always changing it up just really based on what's working for us at the time. Number 4, what has been your greatest challenge homeschooling? And how are you facing it or have overcome it? So the greatest challenge homeschooling, I would say, for me, as coming at it from the mom's perspective, would probably just be time management. There's so many things that are always pulling on us. With Warren being self-employed, he has a lot pulling on him as well, and is in and out throughout the day, and he needs me for things in and out, you know, on and off throughout the day. And you know, like answering calls or making calls for him or running an errand or something. And then also the kids need me on and off, more on most of the days. And so I think just time management has definitely been one of those things that can be a big challenge. And I'm going to put with that, another challenge has also been just all being together. I always say that that's the greatest blessing, and it can be the greatest curse of homeschooling, depending on the day. Being all together it's beautiful. It just is. I love being all together. I love the younger kids hearing me have conversations with the older kids, and I love my older kids hearing me have conversations with the younger kids. And I just love the dynamic of how everything just kind of like goes. For example, just this morning, Sam walked in and now he's talking with his hands like I am. Just this morning, Amber was sitting on her bed in her room working on her college classes that she's taking right now. Sam was on her floor serenading her with all of his latest songs that he's just been learning over the weekend. And Joseph was sitting next to him with his guitar, strumming and singing away whatever random words he wanted to sing. So I think that that right there is just kind of the essence of homeschooling, in that those relationships that they form with one another are fantastic. However, they also know how to push each other's buttons to a T. They spend lots and lots of time together, and sometimes that can be a curse as well. So those things, time management and being all together, have been challenges, but overcoming it, I guess, is just learning to accept one another, and just trying to learn how my phone is still ringing. You want to go see what that is? What phone is that? I guess as far as time management, it's just practicing. I always say practice makes you better, and just practicing different time management skills and philosophies, and seeing kind of just what works. For me anyways, it was just seeing what kind of worked for me, and then just trying to, as much as I can, I do try to tame back the outside commitments. That's hard. That's very, very hard, because, you know, it just is. That's hard to do, to get rid of all the outside commitments. But I do try to tone those down a little bit, and just kind of facing and overcoming the being all together. You know, sometimes someone has to just go spend some time in their room, and sometimes I know, you know, in my head I'm saying they need to be doing school right now, but in my heart I know everybody just needs a little break from one another. So sometimes, you know, just kind of learning what works for your family, I guess, is what I'm trying to say here. Okay, number 5, what advice when you give someone considering homeschooling for the very first time? I guess my advice would be to just go into it with a flexible attitude, because too much rigidity is just that. It's too rigid, and it's really hard I think that sometimes as moms, we want to make this like perfect schedule, and we want everybody to fit into that, and it's not like that. It just doesn't work, because everyone else in their mind has their own schedule going on. And so just learning to be flexible, not just with time, but also flexible with what's going to work for each child. So, you know, going into it, I guess, and wiping some of those expectations off the board. You know, oh, my kids are going to be super, super smart, and they're going to just know everything, and everything's going to come easy to them. You know what? Not everything is going to come easy to every single child. Some things are going to come easier to one child than another, and some things are going to almost feel impossible to one child compared to another one. And so just being flexible all the way around. Flexible with time management, flexible with what curriculum you're using, and sometimes you're going to feel like you wasted money on a curriculum, but just learning to kind of be flexible and try something different when whatever you first tried isn't working, I think is very, very, very helpful. And what else? I guess another thing that I would say to first-time homeschooling parents would be don't underestimate the power of just reading aloud to your children. So when things are going south during the day, which that's going to happen, it just is, that reading and just kind of stepping back, sitting down on the couch and reading stories, I think is really, really a good thing. And there's so much to be gained, whether you're reading great literature, or you're reading an adventure story, or you're just reading poetry, or you're just reading them a story out of their Humpty Dumpty magazine. Whatever it is, you know, and for older kids too. I've been reading this, The Jungle. I don't really know if we like it or we don't like it.
I don't like it.
You don't like it? It's pretty deep and whatever, but we've been reading that since the beginning of the school year. I would say since September. We're not very far into it, but some days we just need to kind of sit down and just take a little time there too, and just do a little read aloud. Just kind of give their brains a little bit of a break and their hands a little bit of a break from school. And I guess that's what it kind of feels like to me, is just a little break for them. Although Sam says he doesn't like it, so maybe it's not much of a break. But just don't underestimate the power of reading. And if all you do in your day is read a dozen books to your kids, you know what? That still is a great day of homeschooling. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and a peek into my thoughts on homeschooling, and definitely check out the playlist that I'm going to list in the description box below. That's going to take you over to all the other top 5 question Q&A videos that other moms are doing. Okay, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Bye.